Hello, welcome back to another episode of Halftime TV. Before I go any further, let me say thank you to my sponsors, Quicklink Shipping, RS Sports Store, and CSA Shop. You can follow each of them on Instagram, Quicklink Shipping at Quicklink Shipping, or email them at quicklinkshipping@gmail.com. RS Sports Store for all your sporting apparel. Follow them on Instagram at RS Sports Store. CSA Shop, follow them on Instagram at csashop@aol.com. Now, today's topic is Gareth Southgate and 5 reasons why I think his days are numbered, especially with this England team. Now, coming into this friendly against Austria and even going into the Euros, there were a lot of hullabaloo coming from different corners about Trent Alexander-Arnold and the possibility of him missing out on the Euros because of his dip in form this season, as well as a bunch of number of factors, which included other players doing well, Kyle Walker, Reece James, namely. Now, the game that England played today, they were extremely underwhelming, and Trent Alexander-Arnold, whether it's a sign from the greater powers or it's a little bit of karma kicking in, regardless of what you want to call it, he limped off injured. And based on Jack Grealish's interview after the game, he said it didn't look well at all for his teammates. So will Trent make it to the Euros after all this noise that was created for the past few weeks? It seemed as if injury will be the reason why he misses out rather than selection and ability. Jesse Lingard also was a standard performer in that game. He threaded the pass through to Grealish, which ultimately ended up with Bukayo Saka putting it in the back of the net. Now, what did we take away from that game? England is taking 5 midfielders to the Euros. And in this particular game, Sabitzer, who plays for RB Leipzig, he was the man of the match, in my opinion. He totally dominated that midfield. And it begs a question, because England lacked creativity. They couldn't find any space between the lines. And Harry Kane struggled for the most part. Now, speaking of Harry Kane, if we were to go back to the 2018 World Cup, Harry Kane scored 6 goals, 3 of which were penalties, and one very, very fortunate as it was deflected from Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Now, if we're looking at that, he only scored 2 out-and-out goals then from open play. But fast forward, these are the reasons I think Gareth Southgate's days with the England team are numbered. He doesn't have a mind of his own, number one. Especially with what happened in the past few weeks, it has fast forwarded my opinion of Southgate. And as a manager, you want to be putting your foot down when your decisions are made and standing by your decisions. Southgate made a decision, and based on pressure from media and outside forces, he went back on that decision. I'm not saying Trent Alexander-Arnold should have missed out on the Euros, but you also left out James Ward-Prowse, a player who has played every minute of the last 2 seasons and has led a Southampton team that has been underwhelming for the most part to some form of stability in the English Premier League. James Ward-Prowse, in my opinion, is the best set piece taker in the English Premier League, and he gives you a whole lot creativity going forward, as well as defensively. He's a gem. He's 27 years old and he's still struggling to make it into that English team. Would it be a different case had he been playing for a Tottenham Hotspur or a Chelsea or a Liverpool? I don't think so. So Gareth Southgate doesn't have a mind of his own, and that is the first reason I think he won't last very long in this English team. Reason number 2, inexperience is no longer an excuse. Now, when they went to the World Cup in 2018, his squad was the second youngest squad in the World Cup. I think Nigeria was first, and the English squad and the French squad both tied for second. Now, one of those squads went on to win the World Cup, which is a France squad, as we already know. And the English squad, they struggled. They struggled when they faced the first real competition in Croatia and then in Belgium. Both these teams were good teams, but based on the quality that England had, they should have offered a bit more on the pitch. And going into this Euros competition, Southgate does not have that excuse anymore because he cannot say, okay, these players are young. There are a lot of young players in the squad, don't get me wrong, but these players are experienced. The likes of Saka played almost every minute for Arsenal this season. Marcus Rashford, Mason Mount, 2 full seasons in the English Premier League. Rashford is a seasoned campaigner at 22, 23. So most of these players straight through are doing extremely well for their clubs. Jack Grealish has played over 200 games for Aston Villa, and he is the captain of Aston Villa as well at early 20s, 23, 24 years old. So these are a bunch of experienced campaigners going into the World Cup. And although there are some in that squad that have international experience, Trent was at the last World Cup, Rashford was there as well, Harry Maguire, Kyle Walker, all these players, they were at the World Cup, so they have experience in major tournaments. So as a result, Southgate does not have that to rally back on and to say this was the reason the team underachieved. Reason number 3, he's too much like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, the reason I said this is Solskjaer, he will rally the group of players together. He will put an arm around them when things aren't going well. But when push comes to shove, when he gets to that big game, he chokes. And that was the adversity that Southgate faced in the World Cup. The first major opposition that he went up against, he failed. And it's the same thing. He played against Austria today. Austria were underwhelming, put mildly, and he struggled. Austria, they're an okay team on paper, but England should be blowing them out of the park any day of the week. Stats aren't overwhelming. Gareth Southgate, he's had 52 games with England and he's won 32 of those games. So he's failed to win 20 of those games. He hasn't won anything in that time, anything whatsoever. So with the Nations League, he didn't win the Nations League. They struggled significantly all the way through. And it calls into question, what exactly is he offering this English team that other managers didn't offer? Sam Allardyce, we know he wasn't the one they wanted, and he only lasted 1 game. Fabio Capello, he took them to a major tournament with Lampard and all those guys, but they underachieved. In my opinion, this team that England has now on paper is better, if not equally capable of what Lampard's team was capable of. So there are high expectations, and if Southgate fails to win anything or even to make it to the final, in my opinion, of the Euros, then he will definitely be heading out the door. He can't decide on a set system and the quality of the squad on paper. I know it's a problem that a lot of managers would want to have, because when you have a lot of quality players, then you have options in different positions. But that's not the case with Southgate. He doesn't know how he wants to play, and as a result, he gets some players that he's pressured into selecting, and they don't show up for him when he needs them the most. Going into the Euros, England is the only team that is bringing 10 defenders, only big team that's bringing 10 defenders. Italy, as we know, are generally viewed as the team that loves to defend, and they are bringing 9 defenders. So why is it that England are going into a major competition with 10 defenders, 4 of whom are right backs, a centre half that is injured in Harry Maguire, while Tarkowski, who's had the season of his life, is missing out. Jordan Henderson hasn't played a game since January, and James Ward-Prowse is missing out. So on paper, he has some tremendous names, and it will be to the detriment of him, because as things stand now, and based on what we saw today from England's performance, it doesn't look very, very, very bright for the English team and the English fans going into the Euros, because the likes of Portugal, the likes of Belgium, France, they all have an idea of how they want to play. And they have players there who understand the system and understand who is the core of the team. That's not the same with England. It's a bunch of players that are pressured into the team by outside forces. Southgate, he's not one to stand up for himself. And I think that will prove detrimental to him in the end. And it will be the primary reason England won't do well in the Euros. On paper, they're phenomenal. But will they do it? Will they go all the way come Euro 2020? I don't think so. And as a result, I think it will be at the expense of Gareth Southgate's job come the end of the Euros, or even if he makes it to the World Cup. It won't be long after that he faces the axe. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Halftime. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any comments whatsoever, please leave it in the comment section. We'll be back again to do the Euros prediction later on this week. We'll be going into the streets to hear what you, the fans, have to say. And yeah, hopefully we will get some insight on the expectations from the English team as well. Miranda Brown here saying, until next time.